Hey dear beloveds, I am delighted to be hanging out with you on this glorious Tuesday afternoon here in Melbourne. The sun is shining here. It's just absolutely lovely. It doesn't feel like autumn at all. And I wanted to share with you on Intentional Tuesday because I'm really loving the energy of this hashtag. And last week we talked about, or I introduced the Sankalpa mudra as part of the way that you can cultivate sadhana, or a daily devotional practice that is going to get you closer to living a life that is in congruence with your intentions for it. And there's some things around that I would love to share with you today, because I think that we can feel sometimes as though, well, I'm doing my devotion, I'm showing up, I'm reading the books, I'm watching the lives, I'm listening to the right people, and I'm bringing practices into my life, but I'm not seeing my life transform to my vision. My intention for my life, my Sankalpa, isn't being realized in my reality. So what can I do about that, Ricky? Well, this is what I want to share with you today. And there's some things about what I do that I would love to share with you that I think might be helpful for everybody who wants to deepen their devotion in order to increase the intentionality of their life. So we spend the majority of our days reacting to external stimuli, external stuff coming at us, and we react to it. And we spend, maybe even us in this group, maybe we spend 5% of our time intentionally encoding consciousness to order up from the infinite one mind that which we want to be experiencing. Now, I want to be really careful here that you don't think that I'm talking here about you can make God your bitch and just create a vision board list and that Ferrari and that pink Lamborghini and that house in the Cayman Islands and all of that kind of stuff is stuff that you can just order God to produce for you, and that will somehow measure your success with your devotional tools. That is not what I'm talking about. That, in fact, is a fallacy. Those things are just ways that we distract ourselves, or the ego distracts us from the true purpose of living an intentional life. What I mean by living a life that is intentional and in congruence with your vision, by actually you creating, not just reacting to reality, is that you get to choose the state of being that you inhabit. So that requires you to cultivate a devotional practice so that when life happens, and life will continue to happen even if you have the pink Lamborghini, not sure where that one came from, maybe I was thinking Barbie, you will not collapse into an anxious, fear-ridden heap, but actually maintain that state of bliss, that state of grace, regardless of what is happening externally. And that is success. So success in human terms is measured in this idea of gaining or attaining stuff, but in spiritual terms, success is measured by, can you maintain that state of connection to oneness, that state of grace, even when the events of your life are different to your expectations. And that, to me, is my ultimate goal. Now, here's the little tricky, lovely bit about this, is that when you do cultivate that state of being, life will start to match that frequency, and you will start to get, maybe not a literal pink Lamborghini, but you'll find that the things in the external dream that you thought were what you were going after to attain will actually start just coming to you with ease and grace without you having to make that shopping list for God, because you have raised or matched your vibration to be congruent with the highest possible frequency. And that is God consciousness, or infinite one mind consciousness. Now, I'm not saying that I expect you to hold your frequency at that level all of the time. If you can, call me, because you're a freaking miracle. But that we can make a life that is intentionally directed towards the cultivation of attaining that bliss state all of the time, so that we are not reacting to external stimuli and falling into a heap every time life goes a little bit differently to our very fixed idea of success. So I hope that makes sense. If you've got any questions about that, please chuck them in the chat box and we can talk about it. But the idea is very simply that you cannot attain or go along the spiritual path whilst holding on to the idea that success is the attainment of stuff in the dream. Those two things are incongruent. So how do we cultivate a devotional practice that will lead us to live an intentional life? An intentional life being, exactly as I've said, one that is grace infused all of the time, regardless of external circumstances, which will then ultimately mean that we have all those things that we thought we were desiring in the first place come to us, and we get them, we're like, oh, that's curious. And there's no more emotional attachment to the things in the dream than anything else, because we are no longer judging our success or measuring our worth by an hallucinogenic state of dream consciousness. And that idea being that our waking reality seems very real and the things in it seem very real, but in fact they are just aspects of a dream. We are asleep and our purpose is to awake. So if you're excited about the possibility of accelerating your awakening to the truth of what you are, living an intentional life, and effortlessly magnetizing the highest version of your life to you, then here's what we're going to do about it. We're going to get habitual. We're going to get consistent. We're going to show up every damn day. And these things may sound so boring to you. And you may hope that I was just going to tell you which crystal to buy or where to hang your dream catcher, or, what special tincture to take, or, which guru to listen to. But it's all absolutely down to you, my darling. You are the guru you've been seeking. And your commitment to meeting yourself as God or infinite consciousness is what will determine your ability to meet yourself as God or infinite consciousness. And your willingness to put down the things of the dream that distract you from that path of attaining that one mind consciousness, or reaching into the field and being met at that level. So if you are still obsessing about getting your needs met in 3D material plane consciousness, then this probably is not the place for you, because you will keep finding excuses. I can't turn up to my devotion today because I had too many children, or because my partner's being mean to me, or because I don't have a partner, or because my parents didn't give me what I needed, or because I'm very busy in my job and I have to pay my bills. Don't you know bills are a reality, Ricky? I have to go to work and I have to earn the money, or because I'm too busy meeting the needs of my client, or whatever it is that you are putting between you and God, whatever you argue is more important than your devotion to meeting yourself as God, is your distraction. Caroline May says it better than I. She says, emotional chaos is the way that we avoid meeting ourselves. And so if you are going to continue to privilege the dream life, the life of the human consciousness, then you will not be able to enact the level of blissipline, as Vishen Lakhiani calls it, that is available to us. But if you are willing to find and cultivate that spiritual fierceness, that fire, then here are the ways, that the very simple tools that I use that I'm going to invite you to share as part of your increasing your commitment to your devotion. Because you may have recognized by now that no matter how hard you've tried to kind of, force your will upon God, what it comes down to when you get onto this path and you truly begin to see what this path represents is that you will be only interested in receiving God's will into you, not forcing your will upon God. So how do I set up my devotion in a day? Now, people have sometimes said to me, how long does it go for? When do you do it? Blah, blah, blah. Those things are not interesting to me, because every day in my life, as it is in yours, is probably different. Consistency is the key. Consistently showing up to the practices of devotion daily is what matters. If you can do it first thing in the morning, we know scientifically that primes you for accessing the theta brainwave, because you've got the most amount of that melatonin production from the pineal gland, and you're primed to be in that beautiful state of connection at that kind of, dawn time is a beautiful time for devotion. But that may not work in your life. And if it doesn't work in your life, is that a reason not to turn up to your devotion? No, it's not. So pick a time in the day, and it may be different every day, but schedule it. Look at your calendar for that day and go, when can I pop my devotion into that day? And you might be able to schedule weeks in advance doing that. But if you don't have it in your calendar, there's a very good chance you won't show up, especially if it's a changing thing every day. If it changes, then you need to be very rigorous about scheduling your devotion. Now, that may sound antithetical to the nature of, spiritual woo-woo stuff, which is, the idea that it's all just going with the vibe and going with the flow of things. But let me tell you something. If you do not cultivate discipline in the development of your devotion, then you will remain a wishy-washy flippity-gibbet who never attains the level of bliss that you're actually seeking, because you're not willing to show up to your practices. You're not willing to show up to your devotion. That kind of commitment is spiritually fierce. It's not it is absolutely what is required for you to attain that level of self-mastery and self-realization that you're yearning for. So please don't tell me that you just kind of go with the flow, easygoing, you know, when it feels right kind of person. When it feels right, when you do this all of the time, will be every single breath of your life. And that is worth pushing for. That is worth getting over your habits, your laziness, your tendencies to let the saboteur shadow archetype lead your life, and to actually find the courage to step out of your bad habits and into forming new positive habits. So no matter when it is in the day, find that, schedule it, and stick to that as though you're making an appointment with God. And you don't say no to God. You don't be late for God. You don't not turn up for God. You can put it in your calendar as appointment with God time, and that might make you show up with it, or whatever word you use. So when I begin my devotional practices, no matter what time it is in the day, I begin first of all by finding myself in a comfortable seat, spine straight. And as I say, if you're coming out of slumber, then it's really important that you do sit up, because otherwise you'll fall back into that sleep state. And we want to be in that theta brainwave state ideally, which is between sleeping and waking. So it's very easy to fall back to sleep if you don't put your body into a position where you're going to actually be able to stay awake. And this spine straight, sitting upright is a mark of your respect for the energies that you're calling into you. You are showing up with that commitment to be receptive to what God wants you to know in that time. Now, I don't jump straight into meditation, and I recommend that you don't do that either, because if you do, you will not be priming yourself for success with meditation, and it will be an unsatisfying experience. First, we meet our fear, then we create. So if we think of meditation is how we encode consciousness and prepare ourselves and create the day rather than just wait to receive whatever happens, then we're going to begin with our fear meeting practices. And the best fear meeting practices are EFT and the micro method. So you can choose, maybe you'll do both, maybe you'll do one. And it can be as simple as something that Angelique Adams, my EFT teacher, taught me, is that you just tap on the karate chop point without even trying to bring any, fearful thoughts to mind or any worries or stresses to mind. You just tap here. And just by sitting here and tapping, you're actually activating all of the same points. You're getting the same energetic release. You're moving energy in the same way, but you're not letting the ego kind of look for or necessarily need to have a story that you're working with. You may find as you start to do this that something comes up very quickly and prominently, and you can work with that through whatever way you work with tapping. And I'm not going to go into that today. But if there isn't anything there, just do this for a few minutes, just to allow yourself to move out of that kind of, busy headspace. Even if you're waking up first thing in the morning, we can immediately jump into the thinking brain. What have I got to do today? Who have I got to get ready? All of those thoughts can start to plague us and take us out of that theta brainwave state. You can also work with the micro method, which I've shared many times, and I can share the link here again, which is simply to go into whatever stressful or anxious, anxiety-inducing thought there is, and go into that beautiful open-hearted space and to ask, what is deeper than this stressful thought? So once you've done your fear releasing processes, I want you to spend some time with pranayama or breath. And you could do this before or after your fear releasing. And before you go into meditation, I want you to spend some time just going into whatever breath you are familiar with or comfortable with. That may just be 4-part breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Hold for 4. Or it might be that you use Ujjayi breath, or it might be that you have some other Kapalabhati breath or alternate nostril breathing, or some kind of active pranayama. So not just going into slightly extended breathing, which we do when we meditate, but actually go into an active pranayama. Joe Dispenza has a really powerful Kundalini rising breath that he has at the beginning of his, I think it's his morning and evening meditations as part of that whole package of recordings. And that's a very strong breath which you might go into. But activating your consciousness through pranayama is a very powerful thing. Then and only then we would go into heart coherence or heart congruence. And of course, none of these practices I'm going to go into in detail because you have probably been really familiar with them before. And if you think of heart congruence as the lubricant for meditation, you go into the highest possible vibrational state, you allow yourself to attune to that God frequency really quickly, and then, I'm just looking at the comments, and then you are ready for meditation. And that meditation ideally will be silence, in stillness, in solitude. And you will just go into that space where you are receptive to whatever God wants for you and wants you to receive in that moment. It might be a feeling, it might be information, it might just be absolute bliss of sitting in that beautiful frequency. But before you've got there, before you've rushed into meditation, we've done our devotional foreplay and we've built the muscle of our devotion. Now, all of that, depending on the time that you've got available, could be between 20 and 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. If you have more time, you might want to take longer. You might want to do a guided meditation as well. But you are encoding consciousness simply by not just rushing out into your day or, whatever time of day you do it, but by actually cultivating your way of being in the world energetically. You are saying, this is the frequency that I am living at. This is how I want the world to respond to me. And then I'm ready to respond to the world through this paradigm, regardless of what is coming at me from the external reality. And then we start to create a new paradigm. But if you don't show up to this every day, if you're not deep in your devotion every day, and I'm not saying long time in your devotion, I mean just showing up with that commitment, then it's unlikely that you're going to start to see your life respond to your vibration, because your vibration is like this. And God or infinite consciousness is like, okay, what are we tuning to? What are we tuning to? Which part of that crazy roller coaster of energy do you want us to actually bring you more of? And so your consistency, your emotional consistency that comes through your practices of devotion ensure your success in attaining what we're all actually seeking, which is to remember what we truly are, which is to know ourselves as God, which is to live in that state of bliss and union with all that is, and to overcome the dream of separation. So when you are willing and ready to up your spiritual ante, to up your spiritual fierceness, and to actually step into that spiritual maturity that does not let your life be an excuse or a reason why you can't be in daily devotion, then you're going to find that everything accelerates. So I'm going to offer you that opportunity to go into this on a daily basis for the next 30 days. Melissa's just said add chanting as well. Absolutely. Sounding, humming, or chanting. And, for some of you, like for me, that's not possible because my husband's in bed next to me, or my kids are in the next room, and even when I go into the office, there's not enough soundproofing. But I absolutely agree with Melissa that if chanting is part of your practice, and you do have the space in your home to do that, then that is such a powerful way to get out of the kind of busy and to anchor into the heart, the cathedral of the heart, and to get into that consciousness encoding space. Thank you for adding that. But I really encourage you to not look at this as an afterthought or a luxury. Your soul is not a luxury. And what you're seeking is not in the external trinkets and superstitions of the dream, which includes all the ideas of success that you measure yourself by. But I guarantee you that those things will come to you when they're no longer the things that you're seeking. So if we can shift our perspective here and actually dig deep into our spiritual maturity and fierceness, and actually show up to a 30-day sadhana, which I'm inviting you all to join me. I finished one today, so I'm inviting you to join me in another one where we go on a journey together for 30 days. If you'd like to join, please just comment and you can join at any time. But for 30 days, to make a commitment to have at least 20 to 30 minutes of devotion, following that formula or your version of a formula of devotion that isn't just about uncomfortably sitting in meditation for 20 minutes and then getting up and going away and not noticing any changes in your life, because that doesn't work. It doesn't work. Doing, half-assed shitty devotion is not the same as having a really constructive devotional practice that's going to alter your frequency and change your life, which is not to say that every day is going to feel good. I don't want you to get caught up in the illusion that this is about getting high. It isn't. Some days you're going to show up and it's going to be hard, bloody work, but you're going to do it anyway, because the reward will come, and the reward is that sense of union with self, with God's self. So that's all I wanted to share with you today. Christina's in, you and me, Christina, doing 30-day sadhana, and you can share what you're going to do with us if you like. Just like I'm going to start with intuitive EFT, and then I'm going to do the micro method, and then I'm going to do some chanting, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and share your formula if you like, because we learn from each other. Very often we feel like these things are difficult because we don't know how to compile or put together a devotional practice, but actually it's really easy. Leonore's with us, beautiful. So if you would like to join this 30-day commitment, I would love to see it, and let's create intentional lives. Let's stop reacting to the things that are thrown at us, and let us use those, and that lets us use those things as an excuse, putting our devotion first rather than leaving it as a luxury that comes last, and actually creating a devotional practice that we can see the benefits of in our daily life. That is an anchoring our devotion into our daily life, not using our devotion to kind of avoid or try and get out of the reality of our life. That's just fantasizing, and we don't want any of that. All right, I think that's it. I'm going to go live on the Institute page at 4 o'clock. 4:30 in 10 minutes time, to share part 3 of my journey with my spiritual teachers, looking at some of my own shadow aspects. I shared the shadow aspects of one of my teachers last time in part 2. In this live, I'm going to share some of my meeting my shadow through working with a spiritual teacher. You can join me on the Institute page if you want to, and if you're in with the sadhana, please comment, because I would love for all of us to share, and then you can use this group to kind of journal what it's happening for you. Today was really good, today was a bit hard, I did it anyway, whatever you want to share. And I'll put some hashtags and stuff in there so we can get on board with this. Bye.